Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, and I am located at 1563 Main Street in Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am here with you every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. on this station to bring you, the Pennsylvania landowner, oil and gas right owner, the information that you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. I want to wish everybody a happy 2017, and I also want to start off the year. First, we'll remind everybody, let's start off the year with a little reminder. I am Doug Clark. I do not, have not, and will not, never, ever, ever. I say it all the time because I want it recorded. I will never represent an oil or gas company. I will only represent Pennsylvania landowners, oil and gas right owners relative to these oil and gas matters. Will not ever represent oil and gas companies, ever, no matter what. So, okay, let's go to the next thing here. We're starting 2017. Let's hit a little bit of a resolution. Here's my resolution suggestion for all Pennsylvania landowners, for all Pennsylvania oil and gas right owners. Let's make this our resolution. Stop signing bad agreements. Stop signing bad agreements. Tell yourself, I'm in 2017. I am going to stop signing bad agreements that are totally one-sided, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get assistance, whether you call me or call somebody who knows what they're doing. Call somebody, get some assistance from somebody working for you to help educate you, inform you, to allow yourself to make the right decision, and then sign a better agreement, a more fair agreement, sometimes a very landowner-friendly agreement. But we have to stop signing bad agreements. Literally, on the phone with a client yesterday about a water pipeline. Being offered at $12 per foot. My opinion, let me make this very, very clear. My opinion, that is not enough compensation. $12 per foot for a water line, gas pipeline, whatever the case may be. My clear opinion, that is insufficient compensation. My opinion. So I talked to the landowner, explained, look, you don't have to agree to this. This is entirely up to you, and you need to decide, is this money, does it justify me making a decision to go ahead and sign this proposed agreement? And if it does, then what we need to do is make sure that we improve and drastically improve the terms of the agreement. That's what we need to do in all of these pipeline, roadways, essentially all of these cases. That's what we need to do. And step one is going to be to understand the market, to understand your rights, to understand your negotiation leverage. And you're not going to get that information from the company or the company's agent, landman, who is representing the company, not you, the landowner. That's right. We're going to keep doing it in 2017. I'm going to remind you every single weekend that the landman does not represent you, the landowner. They represent the company. That is their client, not you. So we need to make sure that we're leveling the playing field, and that's just simply, unfortunately, just not happening in enough cases. So yesterday, I was saying, just yesterday, talking to the client about this water line and explaining all the different potential problems and saying, hey, look, these are the things that you need to consider and decide whether you want to move forward. Do you want to negotiate? How do you want to handle this? You want to say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. How do you want to handle it? Well, as I'm talking to the client, they say, I have a neighbor to the left of me who, quote, just signs everything. So I say left, west. The neighbor to the west of me just signs everything. And I say, geez, it makes me sad. It just makes me sad because I think about and I see routinely how people have been taken advantage of over and over. And you're taken advantage of once, that's very disturbing. What's more disturbing to me is when people are being taken advantage of, in my opinion, more than one time. So you sign a bad lease because you weren't informed. The company landman said, oh, we'll steal your gas anyway. Maybe they said that. Maybe they didn't. You sign, you won't get paid. Whatever that sales pitch was given to you, you said, hey, okay, this makes sense. Not a lot of information out there. You sign an agreement. Then you sit back and you say, wow, agreements went to $5,000, $6,000, 21%, no royalty deductions, no affiliated sales would be permitted, or else you would get the actual sale price to a real unaffiliated third party. You see, wow, there are so much better agreements that occurred after I signed mine. So again, we have to learn from that. We have to learn from that. Do we think that pipeline agreements, roadway agreements, that they're going to be handled differently? Do we think that you're going to get the best offer, and if you sign now, people in the future are going to get less? I'm going to tell you this. I can't quite guarantee anything, but I'm going to tell you, I would bet a lot. I mean, I'll bet a whole lot that you're going to find that in areas where you're seeing pipeline offers of, $5, $10, $12, $15 in those areas, and if you're in that area, I'd be willing to take a bet. Let's fast forward, 2, 3, 4, who knows, maybe 1. Let's fast forward a few years, and you're going to find that the prices that people are receiving for entering into pipeline agreements are going to be substantially higher. Substantially, meaning much, much higher. Much, much higher. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, here with you every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. right on this station, and join us each week. So we look at, people are going to sign for agreements for hire in the future. I totally believe that. I am unbelievably confident of that. So back to my story here. My client says, my neighbor will sign anything. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, that's unfortunate for your neighbor. In ways, though, that's beneficial. It's actually beneficial to you that your neighbor will sign anything, but it's not good for them. But look, we can't control everybody. We can't control our neighbors. We can control ourselves. We have power over ourselves. And we need to exercise that power to make sure that we're educating, informing ourselves, and making the right decision. If the right decision for you is to sign a pipeline agreement for $10 or $15, well, hey, that's the right decision for you. But I'll tell you, if you're doing that, you better darn well talk to somebody who understands what they're doing and who's not representing the company, because what happens is we have a domino effect, which it drives me crazy. It's a domino effect where landowners sign bad gas leases. They were talked into bad gas leases. They were uninformed and uneducated because the information wasn't out there. They didn't go to an attorney who knew what they were doing. That's also important, but they didn't do that. And so they entered into a bad lease. Now, I'd say to all my clients, look, we can't go back in time. We cannot go back in time. I hope I only have so many years, and I hope I can get a time machine soon, but it's not looking good right now. So we can't go back in time. So what can we do? Well, we can learn from mistakes, and we can do better going forward. We learn from mistakes and do better going forward. So just because we signed a bad gas lease, that doesn't mean that we need to sign bad pipeline agreements, roadway agreements, water impoundment pond agreements, on and on and on and on and on. No. In everything else that we do in life, if we're taken advantage of, we learn from that process so we're not taken advantage of again. But somehow, in a masterful way, you got to give them credit, it's a masterful way, they've been able to say to people, Or, yeah, I know it's been 10 years and you're probably promised a lot back when you signed. Yeah, I know it's been 10 years and you're not a millionaire. And yeah, this and this and this and that. I know it's been a long time, but here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. Now we want to get you the money. Now we want to get you the royalty money. Now's the time. So how do we do that? Well, we got to get you to sign this pipeline right-of-way agreement. Here's a pen. Here's the paper. Oh, by the way, I'm a notary. Let's get this thing done. You're going to be rich. Please tell me we know better. We know better than to just say, okay, let's blindly sign whatever it is that you put in front of me. Because we see people getting destroyed with royalty deductions. We see people getting destroyed, in my opinion, with terrible pipeline agreements, roadway agreements, hit with, sorry about that. We're getting a little fired up. Hit with additional taxes, your clean and green penalties, roadways, well sites, multiple sites on their property, bad stuff that these particular people don't like and they don't want. So we need to get better. We need to understand, hey, wait a second. It's the old fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So we can't get fooled twice. So again, how do you not get fooled? And this isn't just a commercial. Call someone else. But, look, call me, call somebody. But please call somebody and get information. Person thinks, I have to sign this agreement because it's allowed under my lease. I can't tell you how many times I say, no, I disagree. It's not allowed. So you can say no or negotiate. Say no or negotiate, but get information. So the neighbor to the west who signs anything, unfortunately for them, that is unfortunate for them, and hopefully they listen to this show and say, you know what? I need to stop signing everything. Stop signing bad agreements. 2017, put the pen down and get information. There very well could be a time where you pick the pen up and then you sign, but that's after you got information, after you learned of your rights and what you can do to make your situation better. That's what you need to do. Put the pen down, get information. I'm going to tell you after this break, totally true story. Totally true story. There's no confidentiality to the agreement, so I can talk about it. Totally true story about someone who, example, signs anything versus someone who says, wait a second, I'm going to put this pen down. And said, actually, I listened to that guy on the radio and sounds like he might know what he's doing. I leave that up to you. But he says, put the pen down, get some information. So they do that, and I'm going to tell you how it worked out for them. And look, I could make this show a series of war story after war story after war story. I don't do that. I do talk about some things. I don't do that. But sometimes you need to tell these stories to get the point across. So I'm going to tell you true story after this break. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me every Sunday right here, 8 to 9 a.m. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Again, I'm here with you every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. right here in this station. Okay, I started off my intro a little different here today. I just want to remind everybody, who am I? Again, Doug Clark, Clark Law Firm. I represent landowners, only landowners, oil and gas lease negotiations, pipeline agreements, roadway agreements, royalty issues, unitization issues, compressor stations, estate planning, surface use agreements, you name it, anything related to oil and gas development in Pennsylvania, give us a call. 570-307-0702, 570-307-0702. Learn about what we do. See if we're right for you. Also, check out pagasleaseattorney.com. Check out pipelineattorney.com. Go to the websites. We have the radio shows archived on the websites. I don't know how many, probably 50 plus hours of radio shows on the websites, because I've been doing the show since August of 2010. August of 2010. So we're coming on 7 years of doing the show. So each and every week we join you. We do the show. And so we have a lot to talk about. And we're not done. We are not done. We have a lot more to talk about. Everything is always evolving and changing. And I want to get you the best information possible to assist you, to get you thinking. Remember, nothing is specific legal advice for anyone except get specific legal advice for you. The show isn't that, but the show is to be informational, to get you information, to get you thinking, maybe thinking about things you weren't thinking about, get you on the path that you need to be on to help you, to help your children, grandchildren, and future generations maximize this incredible opportunity that many people in Pennsylvania have been given. We need to maximize that opportunity for you, the landowner, the gas right owner. The companies want to maximize that opportunity for them, for their shareholders, not for you, the landowner. Their obligation is not to you, it is to their shareholders. So it's okay. That's okay. We know that. Now, in some cases, maybe treating you in a good way may help with their shareholders, but we have to understand this adversarial process, and you need to be armed with somebody who can assist you, who can educate you and inform you when you're going through this process. So we want to make sure you're getting the information, whether it's from us here or it's somewhere else. We need to get you the information because people keep signing bad agreements. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark. So, okay, promised you a war story. Here we go. So, a client who listened to the show called, said, hey, heard me talk about this recently, but I guess a little bit more details here. So, signed a pipeline right-of-way agreement, and the pipeline right-of-way agreement had an attached map depicting exactly where the pipeline was allowed to go. Very important. Now, you may say, oh, well, hey, I got an exhibit map, so I'm all set. It's not that simple. I promise you it's not that simple. I've never seen a landowner send me an agreement presented to them by the company that had an exhibit map that didn't have flexibility, and sometimes very significant flexibility, to change the route that is shown and depicted on the map that the landowner received from the company. In other words, landowner says, hey, I got this pipeline right-of-way agreement, sends it to me for review, consultation, possible negotiation, whatever the case may be, sends it in, and there's an exhibit map. And that's a very positive thing. However, the language in the agreement, in every case that I've seen like this, allows for changes to the location. Now, there can be different degrees of change allowed. Sometimes the map, yeah, this is what we intend to do, but we're allowed to do anything we want. So when you sign, yeah, this is where we think we're going to put it, but we can put it anywhere. That's the most extreme, but that happens all the time. I mean, that's not that uncommon, surprisingly. Also, then you see that they can reroute it if they run into construction issues. And that can be very important because sometimes they can map a route that's going to go right through a wetland. And hey, they may even know that. Who knows? But maybe they do. And so, yeah, this location right on the border of your property may be something that you would agree to, but that location, it has construction issues because there's wetlands or whatever the issue is of constructability. And so the company can't put it there, and they've written in the agreement that they have the ability to put it somewhere else or to change the location because of these construction issues, which they may already know about. So you can get a map, but you need more. There is the map, but we need more language with the map. So if you're signing an agreement without a map, that's very unfortunate. If you're signing the agreement with a map and you haven't gone over that agreement with an attorney who knows what they're doing, that's also unfortunate. I really believe that. And it's not just the commercial for me. It's what I believe. It is what I believe. So we need to get you a map, and we need to limit flexibility from the location that you're agreeing upon. And then if you can't limit flexibility, well, normally you can limit to a degree. Sometimes we can nail it down perfectly. But if we can't, then we discuss, here's the loophole. Here's the potential issue. How important is that for you? And you may say, well, hey, that's really important. I'm not going to do this agreement if they need this flexibility. So then we say, hey, company, landowner won't do this agreement if you need this type of flexibility. So if the company says, okay, well, we don't need it, we'll go ahead and do it the way you're requesting, that's wonderful. But if they say, hey, yeah, no, we can't agree, we need to have flexibility, then you, the landowner, when a company says, no, we need to have this flexibility, you need to know that the reason why they need that flexibility is because they may use that flexibility. So if they have flexibility on location and you're aware that they have flexibility on the location, they can move it around and you're okay with that and you're good with everything else, hey, go ahead, pick up the pen, let's get it done. If you don't like the flexibility and you understand that there is flexibility and the company can move the route around, and you say that, and the company says, no, we need to have that flexibility, you may say, hey, well, you need to have flexibility. That tells me you may move the route. Therefore, this isn't the agreement for me. That's what you need. That's just one part of it. That's just one part, but it's a big part. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, and you can join me right here every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. So, okay, without further ado, let me tell you my story. So, okay, landowner calls and says, hey, company landman, I signed an agreement about 3 or 4 years ago, came back and said, hey, we need to change the location of the pipeline route on your property. And what we can do, this is going to be real nice and convenient. I brought with me, you can probably guess it, a new map, landowner, for you to sign. Landowner, you just need to sign this map. We'll take the original map, we'll throw it in the garbage, we'll tear it up. They will tear it up. And we'll replace it with this new map. You'll have all the same terms. All the same terms that are in your original agreement. First, number one, you better have a really good original agreement because this is an opportunity to renegotiate your original agreement. Number one, you better have a good agreement because this is an opportunity. I look at it as every time there's a knock on my door, if I was a landowner, and there's a company landman on the other side, and they have documents, that should be looked at, in most cases, as an opportunity. Now, some cases, it's not good news because there may be the ability, say they want to put a pad on your property, a well pad that you don't want. Well, that may not be such a great opportunity, but again, my job is to look and find opportunities. And I find that most pipeline agreements, roadway agreements, most agreements out there present opportunities to the landowner. But landowners, if you're not dealing with this all the time, same with attorneys, if you're not dealing with this all the time, you can't always spot these opportunities. And you can wrongly assess your leverage, whether it be assessing it too strongly or thinking you don't have much leverage when actually you do. So that's the first part. But okay, let me getting sidetracked again. That happens once in a while. All right. So landowner calls and says, hey, or landowner, thankfully, I like to think maybe they listen to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark. And they say, you know what? I'm going to put my pen down. Let me send this to my lawyer, have a peek at it, and then we can talk about it. So that landowner did that. Here's what happened. They called. I explained their rights. I interpreted the document and gave them my legal position or my opinion. We then said, how aggressively do you want to handle this? And we discussed all the points related to how to use what I thought was pretty significant leverage. And the client, now look, the client could have said, and in this case, the payment was $105,000. The client could have said, I want $500,000. I want $50,000, whatever that case may be. But in this case, this is where we decided to hit this number, that this is considering all factors that were relevant to consider. In this case, that was the number that we targeted. Now, if the landowner signed the map that the landman brought to their house on that day, the landowner would have received a grand total of additional compensation of $0 additional dollars above what the original agreement would have called for, meaning that the original agreement, let's say hypothetically, just make it simple, say the original agreement called $15 a foot. Well, the new route, the new location, it was longer, so there would have been some more money than what was originally presented, but it still would have been at a very low per foot rate. So we saw this as an opportunity, and that's what we're looking for, opportunities. Opportunities to renegotiate the document, opportunities to request more money in this case. Listen, the companies look for opportunities all the time. I've represented well over 100 landowners for amendments to gas leases and to other documents. And the reason why they're being amended is the company comes back after you sign a lease and says, yeah, you know what, we don't like this about your lease. Your lease is a little too landowner friendly here, so we want to amend it to help us out. And by the way, if you don't sign it, well, you might get cut out or you're going to get cut out of the unit. So, hey, too bad. So we really think you need to sign it. Understand this. In negotiations, my experience, if companies want something and they have the authority to do it, they will be ruthless and do it. That's what they'll do. I don't blame them. They have the power to do it. They've negotiated a contract that gives them that power. So I guess maybe ruthless isn't the word. They just use the authority they have in the agreement. And ladies and gentlemen, we should expect that. That is proper. That is ethical. There is nothing wrong with that. But there's another side. And that other side is when they aren't allowed to do something. When they don't have the rights in the agreement, then you now don't have to do something, or you can renegotiate. So if you have leverage and you have authority and you have power, you need to use it. And in fact, that's what this whole system is based on, because later on, when a company wants to do something and they have the right to do it under the lease, they say, well, landowner, you signed the lease and it gives us this authority. I hear it all the time. So we need to stop signing bad agreements and make sure we're negotiating them to get them as strong as we possibly can. Because once you sign a lease, that's your blueprint, and that's going to set the stage going forward. So you better darn well make sure that you get the best possible lease you can. All right, I'm way over this segment. I will. We're going to start the next one. I'm going to tell my little story here, and then we'll just keep going. Stay tuned. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, here with you every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m., and I'm going to be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so landowner resetting briefly. Landowner says, landman comes out, says, hey, you signed this agreement several years ago. We need to change the route. All we need to do is have you sign this map, and we will substitute this map for the original map that you signed a couple years ago, and you'll have the same terms that are in your original agreement, and everything will be great. Here's a pen. Here you go. Sign this. Landowner says, no, I'm not going to do that, because I know that I need to put the pen down and get some information to make sure I don't make any mistakes. And so does call, and we have a discussion and say, you know what, you don't have to agree to this, and you're in a position where you could probably negotiate significantly more compensation. Now, how aggressively you want to be in that negotiation process is, yet again, individual decision. So some people want to be more aggressive. Some people don't want to be as aggressive. And we talk about the pros and cons of how aggressive you want to be. If you want to be very aggressive, what are the potential negatives? If you want to be not very aggressive, then what might you be losing out on, but yet offering yourself some security to try to go ahead and finalize this agreement because you want compensation, so you're willing to take a little less because it's more guaranteed. In any event, again, that's a real individual discussion with the particular landowner client. In this case, it was ultimately determined that we were going to demand on behalf of the landowner $105,000 and for this new route, which translates into then in this case, the route change was less than 900 feet. So we requested $105,000. Well, if you do the math we'll make it easy and say that the right-of-way was 900 feet long on this property, that price of $105,000 would equal a total of $116.66 per foot. $116.66 per foot. The landowner could have simply signed the map and received that standard compensation rate. They didn't. They called the office. We discussed it. We determined that this was a very, potentially very valuable opportunity, and we took advantage of that opportunity, just like the companies take advantage of the opportunities that they're presented. And, they are obligated to do that. They're obligated. They have a duty to their shareholders to maximize profits. That's their duty. Your duty to yourself, my opinion, your duty to your children, to your grandchildren, is to make sure that you do the best for you and your family. Your shareholders are your family, if you will. So we need to make sure that we're doing the best for you and your family. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So what did we do? We said $105,000, here's our terms and conditions. Within a couple weeks, the landowners have signed a new agreement or new map with new documentation, and they shall be receiving within the next 30 days $105,000. $105,000. So here's the deal. Had they signed the map at their door when it was presented with a pen in hand, they would have received the standard compensation rate, which would have been in the teens of thousands, like 15,000 something in those types of ranges. But they didn't. They called because they know they need to stop signing bad agreements. So they called, and within 2 months of that call, they will receive $105,000. Or roughly, let's be nice. Let's say nice, $80,000 or $90,000. And let's say $80,000 more. So in a phone call, and then there's some work done after that, they're now going to receive an additional over $80,000 more by making that call. Flip side, we have people out there just signing maps and just signing bad agreements, and not understanding their leverage, their ability to negotiate, and not taking advantage of an opportunity that is presented to them. We need to do that. So this is an example, a real life, real world example. And these happen much more frequently than what you would think. And another thing I want you to know. So I don't, in any of these negotiations, I don't charge percentages. So if a landowner makes, we'll say $80,000, legal fees are based upon an hourly basis in this type of case, where it depends upon the amount of work that I do. and on an hourly basis. So this landowner's bill is not something like 30% of $80,000. It's not something like 20% of $80,000. It's not something like 10%. It's not even something like 5%. It is a straight hourly fee based upon the amount of work that is involved in that particular case. And so for a very small, relatively small sum of money, less than 5% of the recovery, the landowners, in this case, in my example, received in excess of $80,000. So do not, out there, please do not be afraid to pick up the phone, give us a call, and find out if we can maybe help you. Find out if we're the ones for you. And I hear you. I'm going to keep talking about reviews and consultations. This person called. They sent me the documents literally like within an hour. We have identified exactly what the options are, the leverage, and saying, how do you want to proceed? So you got to understand that these aren't like these super high investments of time or money, but you're going to be, and sometimes it may be a great answer. Wow, we're in a really neat situation here. You have a lot of leverage. We can do some really neat things here, and you have a heck of an opportunity. Sometimes it may be, and these are more rare than what you think, my experience and opinion, it may be, well, you know what, we're very limited here. But still, now we know we're limited, and then we talk about here's what you can do. And as my past clients know, that if I don't think that I can help you, I'm going to tell you, I don't think I can help you. Who wouldn't say that? I don't know. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, hey, look, I think I can help you, and here's what I would recommend. You say, hey, that sounds good, but you know what? I don't think I want to do that. That's fine. That's fine. My job and my goal is to get you the information that you need to make the right decision and for whatever's right for you. So a lot of times we have these reviews and consultations and discussions, and the landowner says, okay, well, here's what our strategy is, and we're going to go employ it. Or it may be, hey, I'd like you, Doug Clark, to go ahead and have some communication with the company on my behalf. That's up to you entirely. And I always say to people, look, I don't want to over-insert myself into any process, and I certainly don't want to make a promise to you that I can't keep. You know, my promise is I'm going to do the best I can, but we want to give you realistic expectations either way. And go check out the websites. I got a little commercial here, but check out the websites. Check it out. Check out the testimonials. Check out the radio shows. I want 2017. I want to talk to more people. I want to do more reviews and consultations. I want to educate more people. And I want to see Pennsylvania landowners, Pennsylvania oil and gas right owners stop signing bad agreements. I want to see you sign fair agreements at compensation rates that are justified based upon the project. Just because you're in an area. And oh boy. If your neighbor signs at $10 a foot for a pipeline, or even 15, 5, or 12, that's not our problem. That's, hey, company, good job. In my opinion, good job. You got somebody to sign an agreement that was less than what I myself would sign for. But just because your neighbor signs a bad agreement does not mean that you should too. Just because you entered into a bad lease, bad oil and gas lease several years ago, does not mean that you should compound. You should not compound the bad lease by adding a bad pipeline agreement, roadway agreement, other agreement on top of the original oil and gas lease. No, it's elementary. If we touch the stove, we touch the burner and we burn our finger, let's not burn our finger again. If we sign an agreement with lack of information and knowledge because it wasn't available, well, now it's available. Now it's there. Again, call us 570-307-0702. Call someone else. Call someone. The information is there. You just got to go get it. And we need to make sure that people are taking advantage of this. I talk a lot about Tioga County and the Tioga County region, and there's good reason for that. There's very good reason for that. Because Tioga, you're going to see pipelines, you're going to see this development, you're going to see this happen over 2017 and the next couple years in a large way, in my opinion. You're going to see this happen. We need to get you the information now. Don't repeat the mistakes that you may have made or certainly that other people have made. Let's get this information out there now. We're going to be smart. We're going to get you that information. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So let's get into it again here. So, okay, what we talked about here today, we're going to start off 2017 as a group, landowner, gas right owner community. And we're going to resolve ourselves to stop signing bad agreements. We're going to resolve ourselves to recognize that the company, understandably and appropriately, companies are out there looking for their best interest and the interest of the shareholders. We're going to notice that. We're going to recognize that. And what are we going to do? We're going to put our pen down and we're going to acquire information, whether we acquire it from me, Doug Clark, or somebody else. We're going to acquire information and we're going to stop signing bad agreements and we're going to stop relying on company landmen who work for companies, not for us, the landowners. So, okay, last year I beat the heck out of affiliated sales and royalty deductions and a lot on affiliated sales. And I'm going to continue to talk about these issues because they are, in my opinion, destroying landowner royalty payments, destroying them. So just again, this past week, I received from one of my clients who I love, Joyce, if you're listening. Hi, Joyce. I do love you, and I love all your notes that you send in with your paperwork. I really, really do, and I do hope you're listening. So anyway, my friend sends me something, and client, and what it is royalty checks. And remember, what we have is this person, in this case, gets royalty payments from more than one company. So when you get royalty payments from more than one company under your same lease, that presents an interesting situation. And one of the things that we can look at very easily is, what is the gas price that's being paid by that company or those companies? And for the majority of companies, what they do is they'll get the gas, comes out of the ground, they take it to the market, and they sell it to a third party in the marketplace, and then that's the price, whatever they sold it at per unit of gas, per MCF of gas, that's the price that your royalties are paid on. Now, you may have deductions for transportation, gathering, compression, and things like that from that price, or you may have a lease that precludes taking deductions from that sale price. As we all know, we strongly desire a lease that precludes deductions. And I'm not going to go into deductions now, but what I'm going to talk about is the other thing that we have. As I said, most companies will take the gas to market, sell it to a third party, and say, okay, we sold it for $2, and therefore we're going to calculate your royalties based upon the sale price of $2 gas, and maybe we're allowed to take deductions, and we will, and if we're not, then you're going to get paid royalty based upon that sale price of gas to a third party in the marketplace. Well, as listeners know, you should know that there's another way to sell gas, and that could be to an affiliated company, a company which maybe the parent or operator actually owns 100% of the affiliated company, and they could sell the gas essentially to themselves. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark. So they can sell the gas to themselves, in which case we need to be very concerned about, are we going to is the company going to sell it to themselves more cheaper? And therefore, we as a landowner are not going to get the same type of price. So if the company sells it at the marketplace for $2, maybe they sell it to themselves for $1.50 or $1, and we're going to get much less royalty. So companies will say, we will use the index price from the local pipeline interconnect point. Hello, Tioga County, unfortunately. So my clients all know about this, and listeners should know about it, but people who sign leases in the last month or two, or whatever, even longer than that in Tioga County, needs to be very aware that most likely their lease allows for affiliated sales so that the company can sell it to themselves, SWEPI. And it also then says that if we sell it to an affiliated company, we will use essentially a local hub point price or nearest price at the local pipeline interconnect with the interstate pipeline. In other words, they're going to use an index price or an average price in the area for that particular month. As every listener should know, we don't want that. We want the actual sell price to a third party. And here's a little test. If you think you don't want that, ask the company for that and see what they say. Well, no, they're going to sell it to themselves, in my opinion, very strongly, my opinion. They're going to sell it to themselves, and then they're going to use an index price, which is going to be lower, in my opinion, in almost all cases, certainly in most cases, than what the gas is actually sold at in the open market to a third party. What I mean, you sell it to yourself at the wellhead, and say you sell it to yourself for $1. Then you take it out to the marketplace and you sell it. Your affiliated company who now owns the gas bought it from you, the actual producer, for $1, goes out to the marketplace and sells it for $2. You as a landowner in that scenario under this type of lease would receive royalties based on $1 gas, because that was either the sell price to the affiliated company or that $1, let's say, was the average daily price at the local pipeline interconnect point that would apply in your case. So open market transaction, in my example, gives $2. Hub price, or price that they sell it to themselves, is $1. Well, there's some variables in there, but one thing we know is $1 is half of $2. $1 is half of $2. So we know that. So we want $2, not $1. So, okay, so person sends me in their checks, holding them right here. And this person is being paid by two different companies. One company who is giving them the price that they actually sell the gas at in the marketplace for or to a third party that they're not related to. And the other one is using a local index price. So in the month of, let me get this right. So in the month of October, so October 2016, the gas being sold, one company who uses the index price on this statement here to the landowner is paying the landowner on gas. Now, this is under the same lease. This landowner has one lease. Two companies send the landowner royalty checks under the same lease, meaning the same language. Everything is the same, except one company paying them royalties is giving the landowner the actual price that they obtain in a real, legitimate third-party transaction, and the other company is paying on an index price. So just picking the local index price and using that price, which has nothing to do with the actual price the gas was sold at, but does reflect the daily average price at this local location. Probably one of the lowest prices in the country, but okay. So I'll give you these two numbers and then we'll guess which one. So one company is paying $1.44 per MCF of gas, and the other company under the same lease, same exact terms and language, same lease, is paying 87 cents. One company is paying $1.44 and one company is paying 87 cents. Guess which one's which? Well, I know you know. The $1.44 is the actual legitimate transaction price in the open market to a third party. 87 cents, well, that's the company that sold it to itself, its affiliated company, at the wellhead, and then gave the landowner the index price. 87 cents and $1.44. Put a little bit of perspective there. That's a 58-cent difference in prices. And let's put it this way to give another perspective to it. The company that sold the gas at $1.44 to a legitimate third-party transaction, they paid $1.44, and the other company who used the index price paid 87 cents, and 87 cents is 60% less than what the other company paid. So $1.44 and 87 cents. If, in this case, you calculate the royalties based upon the actual price, you would receive 60% higher price for the gas, 60% higher. That's 1 month. That's 1 month, one well. That's going to go on for the life of the lease, which is going to be many decades and many, many wells. And so in 1 month, it's 60% less. Average that out over the lease. Wow, that should be scary. It certainly scares me. All right, we're up against it. Hey, look, remember our resolutions. Can leave you with this. 2017, let's keep doing this. Number 1, stop signing bad agreements. Get information. Make good decisions. Make informed decisions, and they will be good decisions. Number 2, and as always, remember, the landman works for the company, not you, the landowner. We're going to keep it going. Remember, I've been doing the show since August of 2010, and I look forward to a wonderful, great year. And you can always call us 570-307-0702. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everyone. We'll see you next week.